What is Precision ERP Configuration? This graphic outlines the 7 steps of the ERP Doctor ERP Accelerator methodology, as discussed a short while ago. We're now looking at item 5, Precision Configuration. Let's look at some success from the ERP Accelerator. V3 Consulting Engineers, Reg Barry, major shareholder, CFO, CEO, presented at a conference. The auditors just left after 6 weeks. Last year they were here for 6 months. They signed off the balance sheet without qualifications for the first time in 15 years. With masses of management information. Profitability has improved. We did it with one less bookkeeper. The distinguishing factor in this particular case was precision configuration, cubic business model in the financial suite. The software by today's standards was very primitive, actually, but we accomplished amazing things through precision configuration. Another success from the ERP Accelerator, ASCO, I've spoken about it before, again at a conference presentation with Robert Prebatch, part owner and CEO, facilitated growth of new distribution center necessity, not my words, his. Positioned ASCO as an industry leader in the management of information and therefore brand management in its category. Secured the Dior account with an immediate 12% revenue uplift. Again, a consequence of precision configuration. And you'll learn how to do this in the executive briefing and the 4-day event. Why is precision ERP configuration important? I've already shared the 1 out of 10 rating of the big brand ERP by the CEO of a FTSE 100 company. The slides that follow, I will discuss why this happened and tell you how to fix it. Bottom line, in that case, we've spent a fortune on this computer system and I cannot get the strategic executive information I need when I need it. Step 5 of the ERP Doctor 7-step ERP Accelerator is Precision ERP Configuration. If you've been wondering what that means, please type yes in the chat. I'll now focus on Precision ERP Configuration. Precision ERP Configuration is validation data that is highly hierarchically structured, that models the real world, that reflects executive strategic priorities. It's very easy to read and interpret, leading to fast and accurate posting of transactions. The structure facilitates quick and easy analysis and reporting, enabling sophisticated models. It's accompanied by disciplines that ensure quality data and strong internal audit control. It supports a dramatically different and better way of employing your ERP and other software. If we look at the situation of computers versus people, what we see over here is that computers collect, collate, If we look at the relationship between computers and people, we see that computers collect, collate, summarize, synthesize, present information. Human beings interpret the results, take decisions, and take action. The importance of precision configuration in this cannot be overstressed. The goal is ultimately the right decision. The fundamental challenge is to get the right information, the right person, in the right place, at the right time, in order to make the right decision, in order to thrive. An organization that consistently makes right decisions will prosper, and poor quality data is a major factor in bad business decisions. The military quick attack. As mentioned previously, I was a military commander trained up to brigade level. What I learned through that role is that quality intelligence, in other words information, is critical. Bad intelligence loses battles and gets own forces killed. And quality decisions must be taken quickly. Quality decisions are vital. Bad decisions lose battle and get own forces killed. Unlocking ERP value. Intuitively, fundamentally meaningful information, structured such that the computer system appears to be intelligent. Presented through reports, graphs, dashboards. These lay the foundation for sophisticated models that improve overall strategic executive decision support and enable advanced statistical techniques, advanced economic analysis, models, etc. Returning to the CEO of the large FTSE 100 corporation, I proceeded with my investigation, and this is what I found. The chart of accounts, sloppy configuration. We've touched on that before. scraping, loading, dozing, ripping, grading, doing things, plant spares, foodstuffs, medicines, all jumbled together with absolutely no logic, no structure. It's no wonder that they need 4 expensive people to try and make sense of this nonsense. And then the material group, a similar situation. Absolutely no logic, no structure, 3 different accounts, pipe and pipe fittings. Yep. This image is actually really what it's about, folks, and that's why these systems are so difficult to use. Have you had experience of data that looks like this? Please type yes in the chat if so. What is the best way to unscramble spaghetti? Oh, frankly, don't scramble it in the first place. So unscramble the data, create data that is not scrambled in the first place, and things get a whole lot easier. So what is Precision ERP Configuration? You've seen this before. It's highly organized data that is easy to navigate for posting and reporting. Product category, user-defined. What you can see here for a particular client, we sat down and we analyzed user-defined field, the fundamental building blocks of their products. And you should be having user-defined fields which describe everything in your organization, so that all the intelligence about your data is contained in the system. And then 2-click drill down. And what I'm evidencing here is that if you have data that conforms to the standards that I'm advocating, you double-click there and you drill down to the next level, and to the next level, and to the next level, and to the posting level, and you could answer your questions. And you can roll up the other way just as easily and just as quickly. Contrast that to what we've just been looking at. Another example, credit note reason codes. On the left, the original codes don't tell you anything. On the right, highly structured, everything that the CEO and the CFO could possibly think of. Another situation. Golf club sound. CEO of the golfing company said to me, this is important. The leader on the American PGA, if their clubs have got a certain sound, the sale of those clubs goes up and the sale of other sounding clubs goes down. So we created some user-defined fields and we put that data in the database. And if you don't have all of this information in your database right now, this is something that you can take back to the office right now and act on. The cubic business model is a logical structure based on locations where we do what we do, functions what we do, carefully analyzed to represent the exact logic of the organization at a fine level, so that each of these cells can be allocated to a unique manager, supervisor, owner. That you can produce out of that cell a mini financial statement that they can use to measure their financial performance and other performance because it ties into your other modules. There's a lot of complexity behind this to get this really right. First time I did this, I quoted the client 90 hours to develop their chart of accounts. It took me 1,000 hours. There are some logical complexities in getting this right, but I know what they are now. I've got software to help me, and I can help you do this. It's very, very powerful. This is the matrix from an actual situation, and the individual cells that have got numbers in all represent real little entities within the organization that are doing something, consuming things. Here's an example of a report for one of those cells. The top half is coming straight out of the general ledger. The bottom half is being analyzed in a report or in the business intelligence. It's taking proportional splits of overheads and distributing them onto that business unit, so you have a gross contribution and a net contribution of that unit. So what is the cubic business model really? It's a portfolio of logic of highly structured codes, practical components, divisions, companies or operating divisions, locations where we do what we do, it's a dimension, functions, what we do, it's a dimension. Data elements such as costs, revenue, assets, liabilities, plant, people, etc. Standards and conventions, outworking of intense research and development. Unique to the ERP Doctor, proprietary software builds the code scheme for the general ledger GL builder. Works in all ERPs. The cubic business model is a portfolio of logical codes and management concepts. Here we see a screenshot of the GL builder software. There's quite a few screens, so I'm just giving a representative sample. You just pick out the elements that make up that particular business unit and you build the code scheme accordingly. Another screen out of that, what we're doing here is we're mapping the original chart of accounts onto the new chart of accounts. So as we map those items and they're accounted for, they're moved across here until ultimately that end is empty. And in the process, we may add a few more accounts into the new chart of accounts. Basically making sure that you can map your old records onto your new logic and use your new reports to analyze your history. What that also allows you to do is if you bring in there the chart of accounts for an organization that you're looking at acquiring during due diligence or that you have acquired, you can map their general ledger onto your general ledger, and in a matter of a couple of days, you can be using all the reports that you know and understand to analyze their data. Much, much more rapid than the conventional way of doing things. The cubic business model facilitates greatly enhanced financial analysis, advanced graphical and tabular analysis, and highly structured data in the data warehouse. It allows sophisticated planning and budgeting, overhead and revenue attribution and distribution, real net contribution, viewing corporate performance through the matrix. It's a very, very powerful concept, and it was the cubic business model that enabled V3 to get the benefits that I've shared with you. What this enables is matrix analysis. So what we're doing now is we've got software which is sliding the matrix up and down the chart of accounts, all the other modules, and wherever there's a valid number, it's represented in the matrix. So it's a very powerful way of looking at the business. Then overhead distribution, there's a whole lot of logic that I won't explain to you now, but this is my corporate cost. So this is your financing costs, your shares, etc. And those portions which constitute overhead for the rest of the business are distributed out over the individual cells. These are the locations, the plant, the premises cost distributed over the operational divisions in that type of report that I showed you a minute ago. So my approach to taxonomies is based on zoology. I did insect collections at school, library catalog schemes I researched for my PhD, for managing my data. I was in the Army managing admin for a while, NATO filing system. It's a world-class approach, and it's not in any textbook that I know of, and you can learn about it and learn how to do it in the executive briefing and particularly on the 4-day course. What are all the areas of the ERP that Precision Configuration applies to? All the attributes, including the full range of user-defined fields, item, product class, and item and product master, dimensions, chart of accounts, cubic business model, other master files and class files, projects, customers, suppliers, personnel, etc. enables small pieces of clever bespoke software that leverage the above, and we'll look at that in more detail in a few minutes. Here are some common misconceptions. The ERP is so powerful it can handle this data. The truth is that the ERP does not interpret the missing logic in the data. Humans attempt to do that based on their understanding or lack of understanding of the business. And most of the time, they hack it inaccurately. In the worst case, humans cannot make any sense of the data. Think about the gold mining company I told you about that went bankrupt. Incidentally, I had the big brand ERP vendors in. I showed them that terrible chart of accounts. And do you know what the senior consultant said to me? Fred is so powerful, it can handle it, which was absolute nonsense. So he went from me absolving the software of the parlous state of my client to taking full responsibility for the parlous state of my client. Real foolishness, quite honestly. And if we look at the chart of accounts, this is the FTSE 100 company on the left, the chart of accounts, and this is the chart of accounts I developed for another client, in this case a foundry client. Again, the item class and material group code on the left, the FTSE 100 company on the right, a coal mining company. The taxonomy handbook is a fairly detailed document that I put together some years ago, which goes into a lot around taxonomies and so forth. If you attend the briefing or the 4-day course, you'll get a copy of that. Another misconception, AI is so powerful it can handle this data. The truth is that AI cannot infer logic that is completely absent in the data. Humans do that based on their understanding of business and reporting requirements, and generally they get it wrong. And in actual fact, humans hack it, which is why 3 people can produce nominally the same report and get 3 different results, and why the results do not agree from month to month. Precision ERP configuration relates to the way human beings think about information and makes it easy to interpret the information and make decisions. Why 7 items in a hierarchy? Miller's Law, Wikipedia. Presentation theory, a pie chart should have 7 plus or minus 2 slices to be easy to interpret. Governance, a manager should have 7 plus or minus 2 direct reports in order to be able to manage effectively. And I've found repeatedly over time that 7 plus or minus 2 items at any level in a hierarchy makes the reports easy to understand, makes the drill down easy. If you get above about 9 items in a hierarchy, it starts to get difficult to interpret. If you go below about 5, it doesn't really tell you very much. And I found that by being a little bit picky about coming in between 5 and 9, you get an intuitively better result. So what does that look like in practice? There we see 3 pie charts. On the left, only 3 slices, doesn't tell you very much. In the middle, about 20 slices, mind-boggling. You can't get your mind around it. That's what most systems look like. And then the right, 7 slices, easy to quickly click and analyze. And if you then drill down, if you've got 7 plus or minus 2 at every level in the hierarchy, drill down, get your answer, move on, take a decision. So hierarchies expedite interpretation, and what you see here is a 5-level hierarchy, 5 levels of indent, which reflect the logic in the description, and then you reflect that logic in the code. What does your company really have? I submit for your consideration that you have an IBIS, an Integrated Business Information System. So you have some form of ERP or accounting system. You almost certainly have some sort of industry-specific package. You have a data warehouse and BI, and if you don't, you should have. You've probably got some custom development. You've probably got some customization, at least in the ERP, and quite possibly in some of the other areas. And undoubtedly, you've got a whole bunch of spreadsheets. Your spreadsheets are the way of fixing that this is not done particularly well. And then what you find within this environment is that there is a lack of precision configuration, and so you end up with all sorts of customization and fixes and goodness knows what, all trying to deal with the fact that your data is a mess. Generally, these systems are configured badly, sloppy configuration, and therefore they're unable to integrate properly. So it proves necessary to customize in ways that are only required because of the inaccuracy of the data in order to compensate. And the end result of this inadequate approach is that there remains a multitude of spreadsheets and manual effort and frequently consultants. This is generally done without rigorous engineering controls and management. A data warehouse is a necessity, not a luxury. You should have one. The core components of an integrated business information system the ERP for the core financial transactions and business processes, CRM, customer relationship management, WMS, warehouse management system, TMS, transport management system, other industry-specific vertical systems, business intelligence and data warehouse, custom systems, business-specific functionality and processes, legacy systems, often business-specific, and then an integration layer, APIs, middleware, and automation, links between the platforms. If we look at the data integration of any IBIS, any ERP, and beyond, what we find is anything that has a financial quantum feeds through to the general ledger. And that happens electronically, digitally, through an integrated interface. In the case of an integrated suite of software, it may happen electronically if you've got interface software that works between both bits of software. It may be a case of exporting a comma-separated value file from the one and importing it into the other. And in the extreme bad practice case, it may even look like fingers on the keyboard. If you then look at the human resources component, you find that there are a variety of components going from the HR module elsewhere in the system. And then if you look at production planning, you've got further links that go there, and so on and so on and so forth. Now, if we come to the situation where we're talking about the business, the ERP, and the data warehouse and business intelligence, this is your ideal situation. You have precision configuration right in the basic interface of the ERP, so that you have nicely organized data in the ERP, which just flows neatly through to the data warehouse and therefore to the business intelligence, and that enables Thrive decisions. What most organizations have is something that looks like this. They've got a jumbled mess where they load the data into the ERP. They've got a jumbled mess where they try and make sense of the jumbled mess in the ERP, and the result is that you end up with expensive senior people writing simple reports, maintaining systems, costing you a lot of money, and you end up throwing money away when you can't even make good decisions out of that. How do you remediate that? Well, if you put precision taxonomies into your extract, transform, load into your data warehouse and sort out the data going into the business intelligence layer, that will fix part of the problem, and you should get a much better quality result then. And then eventually you can drop that down into the ERP and re-implement or remediate the ERP. So there are a number of different techniques that one can use for this. One of the things that this enables is small pieces of bespoke software, which is highly structured classification tables create an environment in which clever manipulation and application of the data becomes possible. This enables the development of small pieces of bespoke software that are tuned to the exact dynamics of the organization. They leverage the intelligence and standardization contained in the code schemes. This can dramatically enhance the value that the solution delivers to the business. It can also create competitive advantage, and we'll look at an example of that just now. It should be an integral part of your thinking with regard to implementation. What else will Precision ERP configuration facilitate? Use it in acquisitions. I touched on this a minute ago. Use it in due diligence investigation. Touched on that a minute ago. Map existing data of new company onto existing precision strategic taxonomies in the data warehouse. Extract, transform, load. Run all available reports against the new acquisition within days. Integrate and optimize the new business quickly and efficiently. Folks, this is powerful. There is so much power in having accurate, well-engineered precision taxonomies, precision classifications. The ASCO success we've looked at, recapped, and I'm going to talk in a few minutes, if you stay on, about how that was accomplished in more detail. Here's someone who used to believe the traditional approach to ERP was the only way. Sean, when I worked with Sean, he was the CEO and part owner of a medium-sized ERP implementation firm. They just delivered a failed project at ASCO. I was commissioned to lead the ERP re-implementation at ASCO using my methods. I insisted that Sean lead his team personally. Almost immediately we bumped heads. His team had produced a pack of process diagrams which he proudly presented to me. I glanced at them and put them on the shelf and never looked at them again. He was not happy with me. Instead, I asked for a spreadsheet with all the validation tables and he stalled. Never had that request before. During the project, he observed my methods, particularly Precision ERP Configuration. After achieving a stellar outcome for ASCO, as reported, he contracted me to help his firm with a number of his other projects. As a result, he took my methods on board and gave me the following testimonial. My biggest learning experience in terms of how to successfully implement an ERP system. My first reaction to Dr. Robertson's approach was confusion and resistance. I realized how it could substantively improve my company's success. I bought in and embedded his principles into my organization. Since then, I've applied his philosophies in the organizations I lead. Following the initial project we undertook with Dr. Robertson, our company applied his principles on new projects, resulting in a far greater percentage of successful projects and customers who got what they expected. I would recommend James to an organization in need of a person who is extremely skilled at rescuing a failed project or assisting a company in need of improvement. So I can do that for you, and I can tell you how you can do it for yourselves. As part of my international business, these are some of the clients who've benefited from my methods over the years. The true value of precision configuration: exceptionally high quality data, extremely easy to post accurately and quickly, extremely easy, flexible and powerful to analyze and report on, facilitates greatly improved high-value executive-level strategic decision-making, the decisions to thrive, properly used leads to greatly improved competitiveness and profitability. It enhances profitable growth. It requires focused management and change control. Would you like to learn how to do this to your ERP? Type yes in the chat if you would. Following this, I will share in detail the story of how I delivered a stellar outcome to ASCO. This including them having to build a much larger distribution center because the business was growing so much, and this was a consequence of what I enabled them to do with precision configuration.